بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Alhamdulillah, we've reached the final chapter, which is المعقد العشرون, which is the 20th chapter, حفظ الوقت في العلم. Basically being keen on using your time wisely and seeking knowledge. إذا كان العلم أشرف مطلوب والعمر يطوي كجليد يذوب فعين العقل حفظ الوقت فيه والخوف من تقضيه بلا فائدة والسؤال عن يوم القيامة يحملني وإياك على المبالغة في رعايته. So basically saying that if the seeking knowledge is one of the most honorable acts that you can do, then and your lifetime is basically disappearing, going away, then one should be very keen on protecting his time and being fearful for losing his time without benefit. Especially on the Day of Judgment, we'll be asked, what do we do with our time? Every single second that's passed will be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on how we use that time in our lives for His service or against it. If we look back throughout the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal, He swears in many instances by the time, wal asr, wal layl, wal duha, wal fajr, wal witr. Some say is the odd nights. All these times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by, because when He swears by something, it's to show its greatness, right? To show that He's giving ta'zeem to it. So, also, for example, all our ibadat, or most of it, is based around time. Inna salata kana al-mu'minina kitaban mawquta, right? Why is it specific times throughout the day? Ramadan, specific month of the year. Dhul Hijjah, specific days of the month of Dhul Hijjah. All these times teaching us to use our time wisely, right? Because you are nothing but, as Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah used to say, but a bunch of days, and every time a day passes, so does a part of you, right? So all we're doing is continuously going to the grave, and time is dissipating from us. So how are we going to use our time? Do we use it wisely? Do we spend it, taking advantage of it? So this chapter mostly is to encourage us in seeking knowledge and using our time wisely. قال ابن الجوزي رحمه الله تعالى في سيد الخاطر ينبغي للإنسان أن يعرف شرف زمانه وقدر وقته فلا يضيع منه لحظة في غير قربة ويقدم فيه الأفضل في الأفضل من القول والعمل. Ibn Jawzi rahimahullah ta'ala, he was saying that it is befitting of a human being, any person, that he should know the honor and the blessings of his time, and he should spend his time wisely, not losing a single moment, except that is bringing you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he tries to choose the best and the best. You try to use your time the most wise and get, they say, the bang for your buck, right? What's the best thing you can do with this time that you have right now? So he's saying in speech and in action, how many times we talk without benefit? Are we weighing our words before we speak, right? Are we using our time to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or are we using it in sinfulness to get farther away from Him? So he's saying be keen on how you use this time. ومن هنا عظمت رعاية العلماء للوقت حتى قال محمد بن عبد الباقي البزاز ما ضيعت ساعة من عمري في لهو أو لعب. And so this is how the scholars of our ummah give such greatness to time and use it so wisely. So one of the scholars of the past, al-Bazzaz, he said that I did not waste 1 hour of my life in lahun or la'ib, like playing games or discussing fruitless affairs, right? He didn't spend 1 hour of his life wasted in that. وقال أبو الوفاء بن عقيل الذي صنف في كتاب الفنون في 800 مجلد إني لا يحل لي أن أضيع ساعة من عمري. Ibn Aqil rahimahullah, he's one of the imams of the Hanabila, and he was called Shaykh al-Islam of his time, like around the 400s, I believe. He wrote a book called Funun in 800 volumes, right? And he said to his students, it's not permissible for me to lose 1 hour of my time. I can't waste 1 hour, not even 1 minute. وبلغت بهم الحال أن يقرأ عليهم حال الأكل فلقد كان أحمد بن سليمان البلقاسي المتوفى عن 28 سنة يقرأ القراءات في حال أكله خوفا من ضياع وقته في غيرها فكان أصحابه يقرؤون عليه وهو يتناول مأكله ومشربه. One of the scholars of qira'at, al-Bilqasi, he died only at the age of 28 years old. But out of fear of losing any time, even during the times he was eating, he would have students read upon him the Qiraat al-Ashr, the 10 different recitations of the Quran. So he won't even miss 1 minute eating without seeking knowledge. بل كان يقرأ عليهم وهم في دار الخلاء فكان ابن تيمية الجد رحمه الله تعالى إذا دخل الخلاء لقضاء الحاجة قال لبعض من حوله اقرأ في هذا الكتاب وارفع صوتك. And even some of them, to the point that they won't lose any time, they had their students read upon them while they were using the restroom. Ibn Taymiyyah, the grandfather of the one that we know most popular, he was also a scholar. He used to have his students read upon him while he was using the bathroom. So he wouldn't even waste the time. They would stand outside of the bathroom and read upon him certain types of books. And this is in reading. وتجلت هذه الرعاية للوقت عند القوم رحمه الله في معالم عدة لم تبلغها الحضارات الإنسانية قاطبة. And this is the case of people, before our times, when they didn't have, the ease of modern civilization that we have. We have so many different paths and tools to reach to seek knowledge that are so easy for us. But in their day, they had a lot more hard time, a lot less distractions than we do, first of all, yet they were so keen on using their time wisely. Think of just like your cell phone, how many times a day you check it, right? How much time is that taking away from your life, right? They didn't even have that, but look how keen they were to be careful about losing any second of their life. We have the phones, the TVs, the social media. If you go and calculate how many hours upon hours of our lives are wasted upon these things, sometimes it's sad. So we have to be extra keen on protecting our time. منها كثر دروسهم. So the first part he's talking about how they would use so much time in seeking knowledge. Now he's talking about in terms of their study habits. فقد كان النووي رحمه الله يقرأ كل يوم 12 درسا على مشايخه. والشوكاني رحمه الله صاحب نيل الأوطار تبلغ دروسه في اليوم والليلة 13 درسا منها ما يأخذ عن مشايخه ومنها ما يأخذ عنه تلاميذته. So Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah used to have 12 lessons a day. Imam Shawkani, he had 13 lessons a day, some that he would teach and some that he would study from, right? And it's not like you can picture each lesson is approximately like half an hour to 1 hour long, right? So 12 to hours maybe, just taking the lessons, not going to prepare for it or studying afterwards. وأربى محمود الألوسي صاحب التفسير عليهم جميعا فقد كان يدرس في اليوم 24 درسا ولما اشتغل بالتفسير والإفتاء نقصت إلى 13 درسا. Imam al-Alusi, he was one of the great scholars of tafsir. He used to have 24 lessons in a day. And then when he started writing his tafsir, he decreased it to 13 lessons a day. ثم رأيت في ترجمة محمد بن أبي بكر بن جماعة أن دروسه تبلغ في اليوم والليلة نحو 50 درسا. And it was reported that he found in his biography of this sheikh, Abi Bakr ibn Jama'ah, that he used to study 50 lessons a day. ومنها كثرة مدروساتها فقد درس ابن تبان المدونة نحو 1000 مرة وربما وجد في بعض كتب عباس بن فارسي بخطه درسته 1000 مرة. So these scholars, Ibn Tibban and Ibn al-Farisi, did the Mudawwana, studied it, the one book, 1,000 times. Imagine reading a book 1,000 times. وكرر غالب بن عبد الرحمن المعروف ابن عطية والد صاحب التفسير المشهور صحيح البخاري 700 مرة. Ibn Atiyah, one of the great scholars, also his father was the person that wrote the tafsir. It's popular, the tafsir of Ibn Atiyah. He read al-Bukhari 700 times. Right? So just look how these people are spending their time. ومنها كثرة مكتوباتهم. فأحمد بن عبد الدائم المقدسي أحد شيوخ العلم من الحنابلة كتب بيده 1000 مجلد وقع مثله لابن جوزي رحمه الله. So this Imam Abd al-Daim al-Maqdisi, he wrote 1,000 volumes. And it's also reported of Ibn Jawzi rahimahullah, he also wrote 1,000 volumes worth of books. Like they calculated all the books he wrote from his youth until his old age, and they calculated to be about 1,000 volumes. I don't know how many books are in this maktaba, but imagine writing 1,000 volumes by your hand. And they didn't have it now, like they didn't, we have typewriters and computers and all these types of things. They had to write it out by hand. 1,000 volumes. ومنها كثر شيوخهم فالذين جاوزوا عدد شيوخهم 1000 كثيرا في هذه الأمة. وعجبت ما ذكر أن ابن سعد السمعاني بلغ عدد شيوخه 7000 شيخ. قال ابن النجار في ذيل تاريخ بغداد وهذا شيء لم يبلغه أحد. So he's saying also in terms of the scholars they studied under, it's many in our ummah that studied over 1,000 teachers. They sat with 1,000 different teachers to learn ilm, right? And he said that one of the wonders that he found was one sheikh, he studied under 7,000 shuyukh, right? And he said that's the most, Ibn Najjar said that's the most that he's seen in history. But there's a narration by Imam al-Dhahabi rahimahullah in Sirah A'lam al-Nubala where he talks of one of the scholars of hadith that studied under 30,000 shuyukh. I don't know how authentic it is, but he said basically he studied under 10,000 shuyukh that he narrated from them, and he would take from them and follow them in their deen and their khuluq. And he took 10,000 shuyukh that he would narrate from them only, but he wouldn't follow them in their khuluq and deen, and he took from 10,000 that he would not narrate from or follow them in their khuluq or their deen, right? So 30,000 total. Wallahu alam. But it shows like the effort that people made in seeking knowledge and sitting with the shuyukh. ومنها كثرة مسموعاتهم ومقروءاتهم على شيوخهم من التصانيف المطولة والأجزاء الصغيرة فقد تعد بالآلاف المؤلفة كما وقع لابن السمعاني المذكور وصاحب ابن أساكر في جماعات آخرين. And also it's known that many of these scholars would read upon shuyukh many books over and over, right? A lot of scholars, they wouldn't even start teaching unless they've read several, maybe 100 books upon different shuyukh, or several books several times before they got the ijazah and they started teaching. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, at the age of 10 he sat under hundreds of shuyukh, because he wrote the Tarikh al-Kabir, which is one of the foundations of ilm al-rijal, a very strong science of hadith. And it's a great, biographies of all the narrators of hadith that he knew at that time. It was like, maybe 15 volumes, big volumes. He wrote that at the age of 18. So just think about how these people are spending their time. ومنها كثرة مصانفتهم حتى عدة 1000 مصنف لجماعة من العلماء لهذه الأمة منهم عبد المالك ابن حبيب عالم الأندلسي وأبو الفرح ابن الجوزي. The same thing about the people writing different works. There are several, like we said, scholars who've written over 1,000 books in their lives. And then he says the poem فاحفظ أيها الطالب وقتك فلقد أبلغ الوزير صالح بن هبيرة في نصحك بقوله والوقت أنفس ما عنيت بحفظه وأراه أسهل ما عليك يضيع. He's saying learn this poem, O student of knowledge, for it's very beneficial to you. It says that time is like the most precious thing that you can save or protect, and I see it as that which is most wasted, right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said نعمتان مغبوب فيه كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ, that two blessings that most people are losing in or fail to take advantage of is health and free time, right? And he said that a person won't go forward on the Day of Judgment until he's asked of 5 things, how he spent them, right? His health before his sickness, his wealth before his poverty, his time before he is occupied, his life before his death, right? I'm missing one. And his youth before his old age. So 3 of those 5 have to do with time. Youth, free time, and life, right? Imagine how you're going to go on the Day of Judgment and say, how did you spend your time? How do you calculate your time? Hafidh al-Jahid, he was one of the great poets and like novelists of his time. It said that he would not get a book in his hand except that he would read it from cover to cover, right? And Ibn Jawzi rahimahullah used to say that when he had a book come to him, like a new book that he haven't read before, it was like he got one of the treasures of the world. It was so great to him that it's something like gold coming to you. That's how the scholars appreciated the works of of the ulama and the treasure of the books. Look at how many books we have around us, how much we have access to upon our phones. Do we take advantage of it or not? This is like the key in seeking knowledge. As we said many times before, if you give it all of yourself, it will only give you some in return, right? So the scholars, they would sacrifice their food and their sleep, so they can actually seek knowledge, right? Some of the scholars, it was known that they would crush up their like hard bread, and put it with water and just like drink it like that, so they won't have to waste time, And just, inshallah, if you can remember, how many minutes you have in a day, take care of that. Then you should, inshallah, improve upon like calculating, what you're spending your time on. Is it beneficial or not? How much time a day do you spend reading, for example? Which reading the Quran, that we should all do, at least on a daily basis, right? How many time do you spend a day, seeking knowledge? What kind of books are you reading to improve your knowledge and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And then calculate how much time you're sleeping, how much time you're eating, spending time on social media, etc. And try to decrease from those things that are not as beneficial and increase in those that are beneficial. So those are the main points the Shaykh was talking about in this last chapter, and it's a very important point, because if you really want to be a student of knowledge and get knowledgeable, you're going to have to sacrifice something, some time. You have 1440 minutes a day of life. That's how much time is in your day, and calculate how much you have in a week, in a year, etc. And how much of those 1440 minutes do you spend improving yourself, getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Just do inshallah, when you go home this evening, sit back and just calculate how much time am I spending in service to Allah, that I'm getting closer to Allah, how much time am I wasting, what are some things that I can cut so I can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and become more knowledgeable in our deen. And that's the end of chapter 20. And then he goes into the khatim, which is the final word of advice, for this book to end. So Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. إلى هنا بلغ القول المتمام وحسن قطع الكلام بالختام فيا شدات العلم وطلابه ويا قصاد الفقه وأربابه. Basically he's saying this is where the speech will end about the book, and he's calling to those students of knowledge and those that are specializing in knowledge. امتثلوا بمعاقل التعليم وأنتم تقلبون على مقاعد التعليم تجدوا نفعه وتحمدوا عاقبته. He's saying that basically follow this advice, these chapters of knowledge that we've gone through, these 20 chapters, that you can closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, implement them in your studying and seeking knowledge. وإياكم وتهاونوا بها والعزوف عنها, and be careful not to fail and lose them, these points that we've studied. فإنها مفتاح العلم ومرقاة الفهم, for they are the keys to knowledge and the doors to understanding. وبها تجمع العلوم وتوصل وبها تسير الفنون وتحصل. And this, with these chapters that we've studied and gone through these principles, is a way that you can achieve the different sciences and the different knowledges. فشمروا عن سعر الجد ولا تشغلوا بمعية الجد. So basically, like, roll up your sleeves and work hard to seek knowledge, and don't waste time on those things that are gonna like be distractions of life, like the luxurious affairs, basically. واحفظوا رحمكم الله قول ابن أبي عبد الله ابن قيم رحمه الله عز وجل: طالب النفوذ إلى الله والدار الآخر، بل إلى كل علم وصناعة ورياسة، بحيث يكون رأسا في ذلك مقتدا به فيه، يحتاج أن يكون شجاعا مقداما حاكما على وهمه. So Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he says that the person that's trying to seek knowledge and get closer to Allah, go into the next life, he needs to be very careful, to be brave basically, and struggle hard and fight against your desires and your like lower distractions, right? Because every time you have a distraction or like lower desire that's taking you away from beneficial knowledge and getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you try your best to fight against that. And you have to have like a love, we said, of knowledge and a passion to it. And you have to make, spend your time and make your himma aliyah, like make your desire, aspirations high. If you aim high, inshallah, you'll achieve more. And just not be satisfied with the status quo. Don't be mediocre. Always try to be the best in what you do, especially in seeking knowledge. He says to be calm and to have patience and to keep going and not giving up. And don't let, like wasted time daydreaming about fruitless affairs, but be practical and consistent. Don't waste time up, in terms of, overeating, oversleeping, having too many gatherings with friends out, social events, stuff like that. That's just a waste of time. Don't let that overtake you. And also, if you start getting knowledgeable in the deen, and it's blessed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't ever get prideful and let like the praise of the people get to your head, right? And likewise, if you're seeking knowledge and you're getting knowledgeable in the deen, and people are criticizing you for, not going out with them or partying or having fun, always being strict, don't let their blame upon you have effect upon you, like as well. Always just be consistent. The praise or the blame doesn't, as long as you're following the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the praise and the blame doesn't matter. Just be consistent and keep striving. And he says to like have, the good character and the akhlaq of the ulama and the tulab al-ilm. You're representing the deen of Islam. So as you are a student of knowledge, be keen to represent it, like to show yourself as a student of knowledge. Wear the proper dress, act the proper way. Don't be a fool in front of others. Try to have like higher standards, in terms of not doing what everybody else does. Sometimes, I've seen some people that have position of leaderships or they're people of knowledge, and they say or they show off like things that are very distasteful, and that's not the way of a student of knowledge or leaders in general. They have to, even though sometimes it might be easier, it might be fun, and you have that desire to do so, but you should hold yourself to a higher standard, right? Because you're taken as an example. So be keen to try your best to have the high character at all times. And then Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he said that the key to all of this is basically cutting off those worldly distractions and those people that'll bring you away from the talab al-ilm, seeking knowledge, and cutting off also like so you have inward distractions, which are the heart, which is like sinfulness and wasting time and desire, following the lower desires. Then you have the outward distractors, people that are trying to waste your time, doing frivolous things, spending time in the wrong way. So be very balanced and very keen to cut both of those off if you want to succeed, right? And that's with all endeavors. If you look at successful people, in the dunya as well, they do the same thing. They sacrifice, some of the pleasures of this world to achieve a higher goal. You look at some of the greatest scientists, some of the greatest leaders, some of the greatest business people, they had to sacrifice certain things to get to the level they reached, right? And so the same thing with knowledge. This is the most glorious of gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give to a person, to be knowledgeable in his deen for his sake, to learn for yourself and to spread to your family and to the society at large, right? So it's going to take sacrifice and it takes effort. And that's basically the end of the book. Just to review real quick the chapters we went over. Purifying the heart was the first, etiquette or adab or recommendation of the Shaykh. Purifying the heart from the sicknesses that we talked about. Correcting your attention, being passionate and motivated to seek knowledge. Go back to the Quran and Sunnah. Take the right path in seeking knowledge, the way that the predecessors showed us, taking the small ilm before the large and studying the books that are most important. Putting first thing first. Taking advantage of your youth before you get too old, being careful and deliberate, having patience, having proper etiquette, adab, being honorable and avoiding the dishonorable acts, keeping righteous company that will motivate you to seek knowledge and encourage you and help you to achieve those goals. Memorize, for memorization is a key to knowledge. Respect the scholars and the people of knowledge. Go back to the scholars if you find like confusing issues or questions that are of a higher level. Respect the books, treating the books kindly and respectfully. Don't throw them around like any other book or disrespect them, by stepping on them or doing things that are disrespectful. And also respecting the gatherings of knowledge. And then defend the knowledge and protect the knowledge that you learn, right? As a people, like, we said there are people that are non-Muslims attacking Islam. It's our duty to stand up and defend it, with a pen or with the spoken word. To make it better. There are people of deviation trying to distract or pull people away from the correct path. It's our duty to defend the knowledge and speak against that if we're able to do so. Also, using the proper etiquette in your questions. When you ask a question to a scholar or a teacher, use good manners and good etiquette that we went over. falling in love with knowledge where it becomes something that's like the most pleasurable thing for you. You know, the more you train your nafs to love it, the more you will enjoy it, and it becomes easy upon you. Also, the final one we just talked about is using your time wisely. And then the Shaykh, he makes dua. He says, Allahumma yassir lana ta'adim al-ilm wa ijlalihi wa ja'alna mimman sa'alahu kadhalika fanalahu. He says, Oh Allah, make us of those that we respect the knowledge and honor it, and that we are those who strive for it to and attain it. Allahumma innaka nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa na'udhu bika min ilman la yanfa'a. And we ask you, Allah, to give us the knowledge that is beneficial, and we seek refuge in you to get from the knowledge that is not beneficial. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wa anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna ilma wa amala. He said, Oh Allah, teach us with that which is beneficial to us, and benefit with that which you have taught us, and increase us in knowledge and action. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن يقين ما تهون علينا مصائب الدنيا. Oh Allah, give us the khashya or the fear of you that will put a barrier between us and sinning against you, and provide us with obedience that will let us reach Jannah, and give us yaqeen or certainty that will make the hardships of this dunya easy upon us. اللهم متعنا بأسماعنا وبصارنا وقواتنا أبدا ما أحييتنا. Oh Allah, let us live in this world with the benefit of our hearing and our sight and our strength as long as we are alive. وَجَعَلْهُ وَارِثًا مِنَّا, and let us be inherited with that. اللهم لا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا. And oh Allah, do not make the dunya our biggest concern, nor the farthest reach of our knowledge. ولا إلى النار مصيرنا, and don't allow us to go to the hellfire as our destination. ولا تسلط علينا من لا يخافك فينا ولا يرحمنا, and do not put upon us those who do not fear you in us or have mercy upon us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us. Alhamdulillah, we finished this book, and we ask Allah to bless us. We have dinner, inshallah. If you have any questions now, you can ask. If not, we can just go ahead and eat, and we can discuss either now or on WhatsApp the next book that we're going to study. So alhamdulillah, we finished that with dawa, the sickness and the cure, and then we finished this book, Ta'dim al-Ilm, how to respect knowledge and the etiquettes of seeking knowledge. And next we'll either do like a book in either Aqidah or Fiqh or Hadith, inshallah. So the idea is to keep going and building upon smaller text if possible, and increasing our knowledge in the deen that we at least are obligated to know about. Jazakumullah khairan. Ayyakum. Any questions? Advice?
Small remark.
Yes.
The hadith you mentioned the 5 things that a person will be asked about. There's a hadith that says "Irtanim khamsan qabla khams."
Yes.
That was the 5 that you listed.
No.
Another hadith is لا تزور قدم عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسأل عن 4.
نعم.
عن عمره فيما أفناه وشبابه فيما أبلاه وماله من أين اكتسبه وفيما أنفقه وعن علمه وما عمله.
No. Yeah. So that's technical translation. Is the first hadith that we mentioned is take advantage of 5 before 5, which is your youth before your old age. It's not in the same order, I don't have it written, but roughly your youth before your old age, your health before your sickness, your wealth before your poverty, your free time before you're occupied, and your life before your death. And then the other hadith is that you won't be taking a step forward on the day of judgment unless you are asked about 4 things: your youth, how you spent it; your money, how you earned it; your and how you spent the money; shabab al-khab, and your life before, how you spent it. Yeah.
Youth, how you spent it, basically. Your wealth, how you acquired it, how you spent it, and your knowledge.
Your knowledge and what you did with it, which is another important one that applies to what we were talking about. The knowledge that you attained and how you spent that knowledge. Because like they say, zakat al-ilmi at-ta'lim. So the zakat for seeking knowledge or understanding something, learning something, is teaching it, right? Whether you teach it to your family, or your friends or somebody in society, and everything time you teach somebody something, inshallah, you get their reward of that, whatever they act upon that knowledge. So imagine if you taught somebody some ayat of the Quran, or the Fatiha, or how to offer salat, or such and such is fard, or such and such is haram, and every time they do that fard, you get some type of reward from it. Every time they stay away from that haram, you get some type of reward from it, inshallah. So, yeah, jazakallah khair. خلاص. Alright. If you have any suggestions for books, inshallah, you can just let me know. Now we can eat some pizza in the meantime and then. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.